Hey guys, this is Manga here with a new video, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you guys about originality. And it's going to be a discussion, so hopefully you guys leave your thoughts, comments in the comment section below, and I will gladly read them. This video is basically piggybacking off of Mark Creeley's video a little bit, where he talked about how important originality was, or whether it was important at all. And again, it was more of a discussion with his own subscribers, myself included, and I have thoughts and ideas and different perspectives on the topic, so I decided to chime in. So here are my thoughts. A lot of people talk about semantics and being very technical about with the word, whether something is original or not. And some people say nothing is original, and I'm more of the ilk of kind of agreeing with that, while at the same time saying that everything is original. First off, you got to keep in mind that originality is subjective. Basically, the originality of whatever is subjective based on the reviewing individual. And I tend to not see things very black and white. And that's kind of how I see most things in life. I try to kind of find a gray area because I think that the truth lies in a gray area, and this is just how I view things, and it applies to originality. I like to view originality as a bar or a scale from, say, 0% to 100%, and everyone kind of gives their rating on how original a certain thing is, or project, or whatever that project may be. It may not always be a comic. It could be an app. It could be a film. It could be whatever. It could be absolutely anything. I believe that on that scale, nothing is 0%. Absolutely nothing. And I also believe that nothing is 100%. I also believe that new ideas can be formed. However, sometimes they're piggybacking off of pre-existing ideas, sometimes consciously or unconsciously. In some cases, that line of influence or inspiration can be so small that it may seem ridiculous to even point out. So for instance, if I have an idea to create an app, right, and I want to put it in the Apple Store, well, the Apple Store already hosts several other apps, and you are already unoriginal within the realm of trying to create an app. One, because apps have already been created, but your app might be different, very different from every other app. However, you're still creating apps just like everybody else. So are you unoriginal or are you original? And to me, you're both. But on that scale, depending on the app itself, you can be really, really high on that scale of originality, or you can be really low to the point where you might be called a knockoff or a ripoff. So it depends. I'm basically saying that everything is original, and I'm also saying that nothing is original, and everything is unoriginal, and nothing is unoriginal. So I'm kind of like very open with it because that's how I view it. Oh, you're making a shonen comic? Well, tell me something I don't know. However, the execution of the creation on some level of that shonen comic can really make it stand out and give it points on that scale of originality, to where people don't think about the other shonen titles at all. So for instance, for those who don't know me, I'm the creator of Apple Black, published and serialized on Saturday AM. You can read the first 4 chapters of Apple Black, links in the description, and links to all my social media and everything you could possibly need will also be in the description, including the link to Volume 1 with the first 9 chapters, and details on Volume 2 are coming soon. Again, I don't want to get too sidetracked in this video, but my comic is very inspired by mainstream popular shonen elements. So when you read my comic, where it has a lot of very original things, or at least things that I deem to be very original, it still has that familiar feel to major popular shonen comics from Japan. Or at least that's my intent and my opinion. Overall, I think my comic is very original, but the idea of making a comic is not original. A lot of people want to make comics. The idea of making a shonen comic, again, you're narrowing it down even further to making it unoriginal. The idea of making an action adventure shonen comic, again, you're making it much more unoriginal. But on the grand scheme of things, on that scale of originality, I think I am way in the original realm. So for instance, like Apple Black has sorcerers in it, and the sorcerers, again, the idea of having sorcerers is not so original, right? But these sorcerers have wands. Wands, the idea of wands, not so original. But again, the twist I have when I'm talking about wands and what wands actually mean within my world give it major points for originality, in my opinion. So in Apple Black, a wand could be anything. A wand could be a cigarette, it could be the lenses of glasses, it could be a book, it could be a bookmark, it could be a skateboard, it could be a guitar, it could be a microphone, it could be a piece of clothing, it could be a necklace, it could be a belt, it could be a shoe, it could be damn near anything. Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but I don't want to go into too much detail about the world. But people use their wands to perform spells and use it in battle and things like that. So there's some obvious things like wands that look like swords, or like big swords, tiny samurai swords, or whatever, spears, staffs, or wands that look like your traditional wand that you would find in, say, a Harry Potter. So the idea of wands is not original, but the way I execute is. So it's original and unoriginal at the same time. Technically. It then depends on an individual to hear that and go and decide on how many points they want to take off when it comes to the originality side of things, and how many points they want to give for originality. You might give like 50 points for originality and then take off say 10 for originality, and that leaves it at a 40. So you're like, on that scale of originality, if you're starting from the middle, which is like if it's a 0 to 100, if you start from 50, if you give it 40 points, then the idea of wands, the way I use it, if you add those 40 points, that's like a 90% original. Now, that's me thinking of it in numbers. You can think of it however you want to think of it, but basically I'm saying I think of originality as a scale. And based on the individual, some things are more original than others. When I first started making comics, my art style used to be very, very similar to the art style of Tire-Kubo, however it's pronounced, I think it's Tire-Kubo, of his Bleach, right? And so therefore, the originality in my art style at the time would be really low, right? And that's why, and this was like in 2009, I got a lot of comparisons to his work, and compared to now, where I feel like I have diversified my pool of influence and inspiration, to where my art style is, to me, you can still see the influence and inspiration from Tire-Kubo and other artists, but it's still a style of its own, because I feel that now my art style is higher on that scale of originality, to where I have a distinct, unique, original art style that if anyone sees me draw something, they can tell that it's me. And art styles, especially if we were being specific to art styles, it involves everything that has to do with art. How I draw, how I sketch, how I produce the artwork, how I ink, how I draw ice or fire, how I draw nose, mouth, literally how I do everything. If you broaden it and just say style, then it's even more than that. It's how I do absolutely everything. So, and that's how I view things. So when it comes to art style, compared to, say, back in the day in like 09, 2010, my art style is much higher on the scale of originality, and therefore my art style doesn't get compared as much as it used to. You can still see the influence from, say, comics that influenced me, like a One Punch Man, like a Bleach, like a Naruto, all these popular mainstream Japanese comics. It's very evident, but at the same time, I still have my unique voice. And like I said before, I'm giving off that familiar shonen feel, so it makes sense that you would get that vibe, or a similar vibe that you get from comics that are alike. At least alike in spirit, because they all fall within that same genre. And even though I'm touching that genre, I'm also, putting a little twists here and there that really make my comic, and that will make my comic really different from all the others. Personally, I think the one way to truly get all the points for originality on that scale comes down to your execution and less so the more superficial things. Say, if you have a character with blonde hair and blue eyes, we've seen that a lot, but so you lose points there, but where you can really gain points is the execution of the work. When this discussion always comes up about originality, whether something's originality or nothing is original, or what is or what isn't, and all the semantics and all that kind of stuff, I always like to point to, two of the most popular shonen Japanese comics. Not the most popular ones, but like they're up there in Naruto and Bleach. So with Naruto, for instance, I'm sure everyone would agree that it is original. On most people's scale of originality, Naruto is ranked really high, right? So therefore, it's not going to be called like a ripoff or a knockoff or anything like that. However, there are certain elements within it that are not so original, right? For instance, I like to pull out a character, Orochimaru. Not just the character, but the relationship and the character between Orochimaru and Sasuke. Orochimaru and Sasuke is very parallel to Voldemort and Harry Potter. Voldemort, really into snakes, pale skin, weird voice. Bad guy has like a group of minions and, people that do his bidding. Obsessed with immortality, died a couple times and has come back a couple times. With his quest for immortality, he needs a young man or a young boy that he has scarred. So in this case, it will be Harry Potter with the scar on his forehead and Sasuke with the curse seal on his neck. Both boys have two other friends within their group who both go to the school that teaches kids with like the same or similar abilities. In one case, you have wizards and witches. On the other, you have all ninjas. And it just goes on like that. And there are so many parallels. And Naruto has been called a lot of times Harry Potter, but ninjas. That doesn't mean that either property is unoriginal, but you can clearly see the line of influence and inspiration. And depending on the person, someone might take off points for that. But you also have to give off points for all the other original stuff that Naruto has done, because if you watch all of Naruto, you rarely think of Harry Potter, and vice versa. The other example would be Aizen from Bleach, and the parallels he has with Superman. Aizen is basically evil samurai Superman. The first time we meet Aizen, you have him in like, really scattered hair. He's kind of working in the system and he's wearing glasses. And then when he truly reveals himself, he takes off his glass. He kind of spreads out his chest to show the Hogyoku in the middle of his chest, and he pushes his hair backwards. Superman, when he's Superman, he pushes his hair backwards. When he's Clark Kent, he's wearing the glasses. And when he makes that transition from Clark Kent to Superman, he pulls out his chest to reveal the S on his chest. Very similar characters, at least in that realm. So again, depending on who you are, you take off points for originality. Sometimes you even award points for the unoriginality, or at least the line of inspiration, where you would see a lot of, say, in films today, where they draw inspiration from old films, and there are people out there that give off points for that just because someone is showing that they paid attention in history class. For instance, Wonder Woman recently came out, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's a scene where she blocks a bullet, and I think it's in the trailer, so nothing to worry about. But she blocks a bullet that was headed for Steve Trevor, and it was done exactly the same way Superman did it with blocking a bullet that was going to hit Lois in one of the old Superman movies, right? But both movies are original, and that's a line of influence that just shows that in the creation of this Wonder Woman, they drew influence from the old Superman movies. But maybe that most of that is in spirit, and less so in the superficial aspects of the series. And both films are ranked high on that scale of originality. So if, for example, if I take Dragon Ball and I draw it in 2017, and I draw it panel for panel, say I take a chapter and I draw it panel for panel, and I'm trying to put it all put it out there with maybe like tiny changes, like, oh, instead of the orange jumpsuit on Goku, and I make it red or something like that, which isn't that different from orange. It is still technically original, but it's so low on that scale of original that it will be called a ripoff or a knockoff, and it wouldn't get any respect. In fact, I might get sued if I sell it and not call it fan art and claim it's mine, and things of that nature, where then you're entering shady territory, which is, another thing entirely. So technically that thing, whatever I create, the fact that I created it in 2017, and I'm not the Akira Toriyama, the original creator of Dragon Ball, it's therefore technically original and unoriginal at the same time, because based off of that scale, it'll be so low that it'll get the title of being unoriginal, and because it's so low, it'll be called a ripoff and a knockoff. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I'm open to having a discussion if you would disagree with me in any way. You can leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel because I upload videos like this and more. Especially when because visually what you guys are seeing, so that this video wasn't boring, is me inking one of the final pages of Volume 2. So when Volume 2 is coming out, especially closer to its release, and when I'm dueling out like release date stuff and like close to its release, a lot of stuff is going to be happening with Saturday AM, and a lot of stuff is going to be happening on this channel, so I'm going to be way more active. But more videos coming out to this channel. Please stay subscribed, hit that bell so you stay notified each time I upload anything. Issue 68 of Saturday AM has been released, and you can also read issue 67 for a limited time free on the website. I'll leave links to everything you could possibly need, including my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. This is Whyt Manga, and I'm out.